교과서 본문 수리과 reading. English or Englishes. 단락 1. How would you react if you saw an English sign reading "Robot ahead" on the road while driving in South Africa? You would probably look around the front of your car for a robot that looks like a human. You would be confused momentarily, but laugh when you learn that the term robot also means traffic light in South Africa. For visitors from other countries, the unique usage of this word might cause confusion and misunderstanding, but it also highlights the diversity of world Englishes, the different varieties of the English language used around the world. React, 반응하다. Sign, 표지판. Ahead, 앞에, 전방에. Probably, 아마. Look around, 둘러보다. Confused, 혼란스러운. Momentarily, 잠시. Term, 용어. Traffic light, 교통신호등. Visitor, 방문객. Unique, 독특한. Usage, 사용. Confusion, 혼란. Misunderstanding, 오해. Highlight, 강조하다, 두드러지게 보여주다. Diversity, 다양성. Variety, 변종, 다양체.
English has become a widely used lingua franca due to its extensive usage and adoption in many countries, allowing individuals who speak different native languages to communicate and understand each other. About 1.75 billion people around the world use English as a useful means of communication due to the high demand of English in critical fields such as science, technology, business, and entertainment. Moreover, in the digital era, people are exposed to a vast amount of online information and resources in English on a daily basis. These factors have consistently contributed to the widespread use and global influence of the English language. Global, 세계적인. Lingua franca, 공용어. Due to, 뭐뭐 때문에. Extensive, 광범위한. Usage, 사용. Adoption, 채택, 수용. Individual, 개인. Native language, 모국어. Communicate, 의사소통하다. Means, 수단. Communication, 의사소통. Demand, 수요. Critical, 중요한. Field, 분야. Technology, 기술. Entertainment, 오락, entertainment. Digital era, 디지털 시대. Be exposed to, 뭐뭐에 노출되다. Vast, 방대한. Resource, 자료, 자원. Daily basis, 매일. Factor, 유의. Consistently, 지속적으로. Contribute to, 뭐뭐에 기여하다. Widespread, 널리 퍼진. Influence, 영향. As English ability grows in different nations, various English varieties have emerged worldwide, including Singaporean English, Korean English, Indian English, and others. Previously, British English and American English were considered the standard models. However, it is important to note that American English was initially seen as a regional variation rather than a standard form. As a result, we now refer to the different varieties of English as Englishes, not simply English. Ability, 능력. Nation, 국가. Various, 다양한. Variety, 변종, 다양체. Emerge, 생겨나다, 나타나다. Worldwide, 전 세계적으로. Previously, 이전에는. Considered, 여겨진. Standard, 표준에. Model, 모델, 기준. Note, 주목하다. Initially, 처음에는. Regional, 지역적인. Variation, 변이, 변형. Rather than, 뭐뭐라기보다는. Form, 형태. As a result, 그 결과. Refer to, 뭐뭐를 가리키다. Simply, 단순히. When a language is adopted in a specific region or community,
it is natural for it to undergo changes or modifications as the local people utilize the language to more accurately reflect their daily realities and cultural contexts. Linguistic change takes place across various aspects of language, including grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and everyday expressions. The change is particularly noticeable in vocabulary. English vocabulary has been modified and new expressions have been created within the different varieties of English. Evolve, 진화하다. Fit, 맞다, 적합하다. Local, 지역에. Reality, 현실. Adopt, 채택하다, 받아들이다. Specific, 특정한. Region, 지역. Community, 공동체. Natural, 자연스러운. Undergo, 겪다. Modification, 수정, 변화. Utilize, 활용하다. Accurately, 정확하게. Reflect, 반영하다. Cultural context, 문화적 맥락. Linguistic, 언어의. Take place, 일어나다. Aspect, 측면. Grammar, 문법. Pronunciation, 발음. Vocabulary, 어휘. Expression, 표현. Particularly, 특히. Noticeable, 눈에 띄는. Modify, 수정하다, 변형하다. Create, 만들어내다.
In Indian English, the term propone was coined to mean to reschedule, as the opposite of postpone. For instance, if a meeting scheduled for Thursday is moved to Wednesday, it is considered proponed. Hong Kong English speakers shout "add oil" to show encouragement or support, a direct translation from a Chinese expression, which originally meant to inject more gasoline into an engine. In the Philippines, there are many houses with dirty kitchens, which are not actually dirty kitchens. Instead, they refer to kitchens outside the home, where most of the cooking takes place, to avoid trapping heat and smell inside the house in a hot climate. This evolution allows language to better match up with the everyday experiences and cultural contexts of the communities that utilize it. As these English expressions are widely used locally and gain exposure in other countries, they contribute to the expansion and diversification of the English vocabulary. Moreover, English dictionaries have incorporated words borrowed from foreign languages. Some of the most popular English words borrowed from foreign languages include established terms, such as tsunami, emoji, and origami in Japanese. Hyuga in Danish and kiosk in Turkish have also gained worldwide currency among English speakers. Foreign, 외국에. Enrich, 풍부하게 하다. Expression, 표현. Widely, 널리. Locally, 지역적으로. Gain exposure, 알려지다, 노출되다. Contribute to, 무엇에 기여하다. Expansion, 확장. Diversification, 다양화. Vocabulary, 어휘. Moreover, 게다가. Dictionary, 사전. Incorporate, 포함하다, 받아들이다. Borrowed, 차용된. Established, 확립된, 자리 잡은. Term, 용어. Worldwide, 전 세계적인. Currency, 통용, 유통. Speaker, 화자. Recently, as the Korean wave has spread globally, words related to Korean culture, such as kimchi, hanbok, kimbap, and hallyu, have been added to English dictionaries. More and more Korean words, including oppa, nuna, mukbang, daebak, and so forth, are being added to English dictionaries, resulting in a richer English vocabulary. As words and expressions related to Korean culture are included in English dictionaries, English vocabulary is becoming more diversified, and the understanding of Korean culture around the world is deepened accordingly. Recently, 최근에, Korean wave, 한류, spread, 퍼지다, globally, 전 세계적으로, related to, 뭐뭐와 관련된, culture, 문화, be added to, 뭐뭐에 추가되다. And so forth. 기타 등등. result in. 뭐뭐라는 결과를 낳다. richer. 더 풍부한. vocabulary. 어휘. included. 포함된. diversified. 다양화된. understanding. 이해. deepen. 깊어지다. accordingly. 그에 따라. Be open towards world Englishes. 탈락 1. Using English expressions that incorporate the cultures of different countries, we are creating opportunities to broaden our understanding of and respect for other cultures. In this respect, English speakers around the world need to be open to other English speakers. Embracing the diversity of English, we can build a more inclusive community of English speakers, where everyone's voice is heard without prejudice or stereotypes. English does not solely belong to native speakers, but instead, it is a language for anyone who uses it. Incorporate, 포함하다, opportunity, 기회, broaden, 넓히다, understanding, 이해, respect, 존중. In this respect, 이런 점에서, be open to, 에 개방적이다, embrace, 받아들이다, diversity, 다양성, inclusive, 포용적인, community, 공동체, voice, 목소리, 의견, prejudice, 편견, stereotype, 고정관념, solely, 오로지, belong to, 에 속하다, native speaker, 원어민. In 1828, an American lawyer and author, Noah Webster, published an American dictionary of the English language with a goal of providing America with its own version of the English language. Most dictionaries in Webster's day dictated how English words should be used, rather than documenting the way people actually used English in daily life. In his dictionary, Webster broke this convention and sought to describe the way Americans spoke. When he included informal words in his dictionary, critics accused him of polluting the English language. However, Webster argued that these words captured American variations of English, distinguishing American English from British English. With the rise of English as the world's lingua franca, there has been a movement to register English variations all over the world. For example, with the creation of the Oxford Handbook of World Englishes. Now, it is essential for English dictionaries to recognize and document words and phrases that reflect the identities and experiences of the multicultural populations who use English. Lawyer, 변호사, author, 저자, publish, 출판하다, goal, 목표, provide A with B, A에게 B를 제공하다, version, 형태, 판, dictionary, 사전, dictate, 지시하다, 규정하다, document, 기록하다, daily life, 일상생활, convention, 관습, seek to, 하려고 하다, describe, 묘사하다, 설명하다, informal, 비격식적인, critic, 비평가, accuse A of B, A를 B라고 비난하다, pollute, 오염시키다, argue, 주장하다, capture, 포착하다, 담아내다, variation, 변이, 변형, distinguish A from B, A를 B와 구별하다, rise, 부상, lingua franca, 공용어, movement, 움직임, 운동, register, 등록하다, 기록하다, creation, 창설, 제작, essential, 필수적인, recognize, 인정하다, phrase, 구, reflect, 반영하다, identity, 정체성, multicultural, 다문화의, population, 집단, 인구.
교과서 본문 4과 Reading Artificial Intelligence and the Arts 탈락 1 On March 13, 2016, an incident occurred that thrilled the contemporary art scene. An unknown painting that seemed to be a work of Rembrandt, the great 17th century Dutch painter, had been discovered. Rembrandt experts from all over the world gathered to view this portrait of a middle-aged man. They immediately recognized the artist's vivid style, but thoroughly examined the painting to make sure. Several hours later, they confirmed, this is a genuine Rembrandt. How wonderful to greet a new work of this extraordinary artist more than 300 years after his death. Artificial intelligence, 인공지능. Incident, 사건. Occur, 발생하다. Thrill, 열광시키다. Contemporary, 현대. Art scene, 미술계. Unknown, 알려지지 않은. Painting, 그림. Seem to, 뭐뭐인 것처럼 보이다. Work, 작품. Dutch, 네덜란드의. Painter, 화가. Discover, 발견하다. Expert, 전문가. Gather, 모이다. Portrait, 초상화. Middle-aged, 중년의. Immediate, ready, 즉시. Recognize, 알아보다, 인정하다. Vivid, 생생한. Style, 화풍, 양식. Thoroughly, 철저히. Examine, 조사하다. Confirm, 확인하다. Genuine, 진짜이. Extraordinary, 비범한. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of them. Their representative announced, "This is not a genuine work of Rembrandt." The experts protested. "With these features of brush and paint, this painting cannot be any other artist's work." The representative calmly explained, "This painting was created by an artificial intelligence system through 3D printing. We are the engineers who developed that AI system." Suddenly, 갑자기. Appear, 나타나다. Representative, 대표자. Announce, 발표하다. Genuine, 진짜이. Expert, 전문가. Protest, 항의하다. Feature, 특징. Brush, 붓. Calmly, 차분하게. Explain, 설명하다. Create, 창조하다. Artificial intelligence system, 인공지능 시스템. 3D printing, 3D printing. Engineer, engineer. Develop, 개발하다.
The experts asked them to offer some evidence. They immediately presented a video showing the AI's production process. Their AI program learned to imitate Rembrandt's typical characteristics by examining data from his 346 works. It was then given the order, make a portrait of a Caucasian male, 30 to 40 years old, with facial hair, in dark clothing with a collar, wearing a hat, and facing to the right, and produced what seemed to be a genuine Rembrandt. The experts were stunned. Evidence, 증거. Present, 제시하다. Production process, 제작과정. Program. Imitate, 모방하다. Typical, 전형적인. Characteristic, 특징. Examine, 조사하다. Data, 자료. Order, 명령. Portrait, 초상화. Caucasian, 백인의. Male, 남성. Facial hair, 수염. Clothing, 옷. Collar, 옷깃. Face, 향하다. Produce, 만들어내다. Stunned, 깜짝 놀람. This was just one of the events that provoked the question, can AI art be real art? This question is unresolved, but more and more art critics see AI-generated artworks as a new field of art, just as photography eventually came to be seen as art rather than technology more than a century ago. In 2018, a portrait created by AI was sold for nearly $500,000. The painting, Portrait of Edmund de Bellamy, was produced by an art group using an algorithm and a databank of 15,000 portraits. This sale helped AI artworks become more accepted in the traditional art world. In 2022, an AI-generated picture, Teatro Dopra Spacial, won first prize in the Colorado State Fair's art contest. Since then, more and more AI-generated artworks have been exhibited in art galleries. Provoke, 불러일으키다, unresolved, 해결되지 않은, critic, 비평가, AI generated, AI가 생성한, artwork, 예술작품, field, 분야, photography, 사진술, eventually, 결국, rather than, 라기보다는, technology, 기술, century, 세기, portrait, 초상화, nearly, 거의, algorithm, 알고리즘, databank, 자료 저장소, sale, 판매, accepted, 받아들여진, traditional, 전통적인, art world, 예술계, first prize, 1등상, contest, 대회, exhibit, 전시하다, art gallery, 미술관. Artificial intelligence and the arts, 탈락 5. There are different views of AI art. To many people, it is at best an imitation of human art, not a true art form with insight into life and society. Some oppose AI-generated art because it can steal the data of human art without respecting copyright. In contrast, some artists welcome AI as a tool to create new art forms. There are also those who insist that AI is more than a tool. They argue that the results of AI creation are largely beyond human control, and AI should therefore be seen as existing in its own right. View, 견해, at best, 기껏해야, imitation, 모방, art form, 예술 형태, insight, 통찰, society, 사회, oppose, 반대하다, steal, 훔치다, respect, 존중하다, copyright, 저작권. In contrast, 대조적으로, welcome, 환영하다, tool, 도구, insist, 주장하다, argue, 주장하다, result, 결과물, creation, 창작, largely, 대체로, beyond human control, 인간의 통제를 넘어선, therefore, 그러므로, exist in its own right, 독자적으로 존재하다.
Let us look at the mechanism of AI creativity, which is programmed to work in a similar way to human creativity. Think of the AI technology of neural networks. It makes a machine think, distinguish, and create in a similar way to a human brain. The machine doesn't simply follow human orders, but learns by itself, which is done through a branch of machine learning called deep learning. This learning process enables a machine to discover distinct patterns from numerous data. Moreover, AI can even learn established art styles, only to avoid them. It can then create a new, unique style. Mechanism, 작동 원리. Creativity, 창의성. Programmed, 프로그래머된. Similar, 비슷한. Neural network, 신경망. Machine, 기계. Distinguish, 구별하다. Brain, 뇌. Follow, 따르다. Order, 명령. Branch, 분야, 갈래. Machine learning, 기계학습. Deep learning, 딥러닝. Enable, 가능하게 하다. Discover, 발견하다. Distinct, 뚜렷한. Pattern, 패턴. Numeral, 수많은. 확립된. 피하다. 독특한. This pattern of AI creation is much like the path taken by major artists such as Picasso and Van Gogh. These artists trained themselves by learning and mimicking other artists' styles until they found and created their own. Of course, this does not mean that an AI system becomes an artist in the same way that a human does. Human artistic creativity, which raises ethical, social, or emotional questions through great art, is not yet thoroughly understood and cannot simply be compared with any AI system. Even so, we have better and better AI techniques which are able to imitate human creative activities. AI has already generated art that some viewers consider more impressive or moving than human art. Pattern, 방식, 패턴. Path, 길, 과정. Major artist, 주요 예술가. Train oneself, 스스로 훈련하다. Mimic, 모방하다. Artistic, 예술적인. Creativity, 창의성. ethical, 윤리적인, social, 사회적인, emotional, 감정적인, thoroughly, 철저히, understood, 이해된, compare, 비교하다, technique, 기술, imitate, 모방하다, creative activity, 창작 활동, viewer, 관, 남자, consider, 여기다, impressive, 인상적인, moving, 감동적인.
Now, we see AI platforms and apps that create pictures, music albums, and novels if we simply provide them with an idea. Although our question, can AI art be real art, is still valid, AI can be a powerful source of inspiration and ideas for artists. AI-generated art will continue to challenge our views on creativity in the arts and the human relationship with machine intelligence. Platform, app, novel, social. Provide A with B, A에게 B를 제공하다. Valid, 타당한. Powerful, 강력한. Source, 원천. Inspiration, 영감. Continue to, 계속 뭐뭐하다. Challenge, 도전하다. View, 관점. Creativity, 창의성. Relationship, 관계. Machine intelligence, 기계지능. Artists usually sign their works of art to show authorship. But what about AI art? Who actually creates the work? The AI or the human using it? A major concern related to authorship is the copyright of AI-generated art. More and more companies, developers, and artists ask for legal protection of the artworks created by AI programs that they developed or used. Since current copyright law applies to humans, not machines, the author should be the person who arranged the creation of an AI-generated artwork. However, it is not always clear who undertook the arrangements. It could, for example, be the people who organized or funded the project, did the coding or teaching of the AI, or input a prompt. Could an AI machine itself ever be considered an author with legal rights? It seems unlikely, but who knows how this question will be regarded in the future? 2026년 6월 고1 모의고사 21번. A classical ideal of truth and knowledge is the concept of a market for ideas. As thinking individuals, we encounter competing ideas. We evaluate them for their best fit to reality, and then let the best and brightest facts form the basis of our beliefs. That would be the scientist's way, in theory at least. But in practice, most of the time, we are in a market for justifications. We shop for words not because they contain ideas, but because they contain stories about ideas. Often, we are not seeking statements as facts to help us figure out what we should believe. Usually, we already know what we believe. What we seek are statements to justify those beliefs, the lawyer's way. Language might be good for this function, but we can use it to do better. By treating language with greater respect, we can achieve more than simple self-defense. Classical, 고전적인. Ideal, 이상. Truth, 진실. Knowledge, 지식. Concept, 개념. Market for ideas, 생각의 시장. Individual, 개인. Encounter, 마주치다. Competing, 경쟁하는. Evaluate, 평가하다. Fit, 적합성. Reality, 현실. Basis, 기초. Belief, 믿음. In theory, 이론상. In practice, 실제로는. Justification, 정당화. Contain, 담고 있다. Statement, 진술. Figure out, 알아내다. Justify, 정당화하다. Function, 기능. Treat, 다루다. Respect, 존중. Achieve, 성취하다. Self-defense, 자기방어. 22번. Suppose you have been working on the solution to a challenging technological problem for many years. Let's also suppose that you have been paying attention to whatever else you have encountered that might be related to the problem. In that case, chances are that creative solutions to the problem could suddenly pop up in your mind when you are relaxed. Such eureka moments, when great insights lead to discovery or invention, often take place at unexpected times. To enhance spontaneous creativity, therefore, one must pay attention to the things that could potentially lead to valuable outcomes. This does not mean that you must narrow down your interest to one specific topic. On the contrary, breadth of experience is the key to creativity. If your experience is limited to a narrow range of topics, then the scope of your imagination will likewise be narrow, which would be harmful to creativity. Suppose, 가정하다, solution, 해결책, challenging, 어려운, technological, 기술적인, pay attention to, 에 주의를 기울이다, encounter, 마주치다, related to, 와 관련된, chance, 가능성, creative, 창의적인, suddenly, 갑자기, pop up, 떠오르다, eureka moment, 유레카의 순간, 갑작스러운 깨달음, insight, 통찰, discovery, 발견, invention, 발명, take place, 일어나다, unexpected, 예상치 못한, enhance, 묻히다, 향상하다, spontaneous, 자발적인, creativity, 창의성, potentially, 잠재적으로, valuable, 가치 있는, outcome, 결과, narrow down, 좁히다, specific, 특정한, on the contrary, 반대로, breadth, 폭, 넓이, limited, 제한된, range, 범위, scope, 범위, imagination, 상상력, likewise, 마찬가지로, harmful, 해로운. Shame is about who we are, and guilt is about our behaviors. We feel guilty when we hold up something we've done or failed to do against the kind of person we want to be. It's an uncomfortable feeling, but one that's helpful. When we apologize for something we've done, make amends to others, or change a behavior that we don't feel good about, guilt is most often the motivator. Guilt is just as powerful as shame, but its effect is often positive, while shame often is destructive. When we see people apologize, make amends, or replace negative behaviors with more positive ones, guilt is often the motivator, not shame. In fact, in my research, I found that shame corrodes the part of us that believes we can change and do better. Shame, 수치심. Guilt, 죄책감. Behavior, 행동. Feel guilty, 죄책감을 느끼다. Hold up A against B, A를 B와 견주다. Uncomfortable, 불편한. Apologize, 사과하다. Make amends, 보상하다, 잘못을 바로잡다. Motivator, 동기요인. Powerful, 강력한. Effect, 영향. Positive, 긍정적인. Destructive, 파괴적인. Replace, 대체하다. Negative, 부정적인. Research, 연구. Corrode, 서서히 약화시키다, 부식시키다. Believe, 믿다.
24번. Let's look at what is occurring in your brain when scrolling on social media, a quick dopamine activity. You open your social media apps and immediately you notice you feel really good. Your dopamine levels increase incredibly fast, and pleasure is experienced in your brain. The challenge this creates is, as with everything in our universe, as the laws of physics explain, what goes up must come down. Your brain and body are always seeking something called homeostasis, which simply means balance. With this in mind, when dopamine levels increase incredibly fast when scrolling social media, the brain then thinks, wow, how are my dopamine levels so high? In order to achieve homeostasis, or balance, the dopamine then has to quickly drop an equal amount below your baseline level in order to rebalance, making you feel even worse than before you started scrolling. Occur, 일어나다. Brain, 뇌. Scroll, 스크롤하다. Social media, social media. Dopamine, 도파민. Activity, 활동. Immediately, 즉시. Level, 수준. Increase, 증가하다. Incredibly, 믿기 어려울 정도로. Pleasure, 즐거움. Experience, 경험되다. Challenge, 문제, 어려움. universe, 우주. law of physics, 물리법칙. seek, 추구하다. homeostasis, 항상성. balance, 균형. achieve, 달성하다. drop, 떨어지다. equal, 동일한. amount, 양. baseline level, 기준 수준. rebalance, 다시 균형을 맞추다.
A viewfinder is a piece of card with a hole cut through it in the middle, which can be used to isolate a part of a picture or object. It allows us to concentrate on one small part or area without being distracted by the whole of what can be seen.
It is a useful tool that can help children focus or organize their observation and drawing. It can support hesitant children by giving a boundary to what they are looking at, and it can help children who find it hard to keep track of where and what they are looking at by bringing them back to the same area each time they look and look back.
When you are making viewfinders for use with the children you're supporting, take into consideration the size of the card. You need enough card around the hole to block out the rest of the visual information from the child's field of vision, but it should not be too big and unwieldy. Viewfinder, 보는 틀, piece, 조각, card, 카드, 판지, hole, 구멍, isolate, 분리하다, object, 물체, allow, 가능하게 하다, concentrate on, 어디에 집중하다, area, 영역, distracted, 산만해진, tool, 도구, focus, 집중하다, organize, 정리하다, observation, 관찰, support, 돕다, hesitant, 망설이는, boundary, 경계, keep track of, 모험을 계속 파악하다, take into consideration, 뭐뭐를 고려하다, block out, 가리다, 차단하다, visual information, 시각 정보, field of vision, 시야, unwieldy, 다루기 힘든. 32번. Do you always study in the same spot? Don't. If you study in different places, that helps create variety, and that rich experience can reinforce what you are learning. When several college students told us they did schoolwork in different places rather than in some favorite nook, that habit reflected the research on learning. Numerous experiments have found that if learners simply study in at least 2 different places, they are more likely to recall the material. In one of the first such trials, 2 different groups studied a list of words. Some students returned to the same room twice, while their counterparts spent the same amount of time divided between 2 locations. When asked to recall as many words on the list as possible, those who had moved around did far better. Variety creates rich association, even when those connections form in the background, totally outside of what we are consciously thinking. Spot, 장소. Variety, 다양성. Rich, 풍부한. Experience, 경험. Reinforce, 강화하다. College student, 대학생. Rather than, 뭐뭐라기보다는. Favorite nook, 좋아하는 아늑한 장소. Habit, 습관. Reflect, 반영하다. Research, 연구. Numerous, 수많은. Experiment, 실험. Learner, 학습자. At least, 적어도. Recall, 기억해내다. Material, 학습 내용, 자료. Trial, 실험. Counterpart, 상대, 대응되는 사람. Location, 장소. Association, 연상. Connection, 연결. Background, 배경. Consciously, 의식적으로.
30-some.
Talking about what something smells like is the most basic way of talking about our olfactory experience, and even this most basic way of talking about smells is challenging. There are no words in the English language to describe smells in the same way in which blue or green describe colors. Instead, to talk about how something smells, we talk about the source of the odor. Things smell flowery, fruity, or fishy. Furthermore, even the most familiar odors are difficult to identify when they are not experienced in their usual context. In one experiment, the majority of participants was unable to name very common odors like beer, urine, roses, or motor oil. Obviously, even those who couldn't name any of these odors would drink the beer, but not the urine or the motor oil. This is how evolution has shaped our brain. We respond to odors correctly in many different ways, but we are not well equipped to talk about them. Olfactory, 후각에. Experience, 경험. Challenging, 어려움. Describe, 묘사하다. Source, 근원. Odor, 냄새. Flowery, 꽃향기가 나는. Fruity, 과일향이 나는. Fishy, 생선 냄새가 나는. Furthermore, 게다가. Familiar, 익숙한. Identify, 식별하다. Usual, 평소의. Context, 맥락. Experiment, 실험. Majority, 대다수. Participant, 참가자. Unable to, 뭐뭐 할 수 없는. Urine, 소변. Motor oil, 엔진 오일. Obviously, 분명히. Evolution, 진화. Shape, 형성하다. Respond to, 뭐뭐에 반응하다. Well-equipped, 잘 갖추어짐.
A particularly powerful way in which human beings adapt and adjust to their circumstances is by changing behaviors in light of the consequences that they yield. For instance, a child who gets praised by her teacher for doing an exercise correctly is likely to continue doing the exercise in that way. A dancer who feels that a particular conditioning exercise is not giving any results is likely to give that exercise up in favor of another one that seems more promising. In general, we tend to do things that bring us some kind of benefit, or act in ways that help us avoid some kind of problem, discomfort, or disadvantage. We also tend to do fewer things, or stop doing things, that lead to problems, discomfort, or disadvantages. And we tend to avoid acting in ways that do not bring any benefit or reward. Particularly, 특히, powerful, 강력한, human being, 인간, adapt, 적응하다, adjust to, 뭐뭐에 맞추다, circumstance, 상황, behavior, 행동, in light of, 뭐뭐를 고려하여, consequence, 결과, yield, 나타, 산출하다. For instance, 예를 들어, praise, 칭찬하다, correctly, 올바르게, likely to, 뭐뭐 할 가능성이 있는, conditioning exercise, 조절 운동, 훈련 운동, promising, 유망한, in general, 일반적으로, tend to, 뭐뭐 하는 경향이 있다, benefit, 이익, avoid, 피하다, discomfort, 불편, disadvantage, 불리함, reward, 보상. 35 ban. It is evident through various case studies that adopting digital minimalism can lead to improved mental health outcomes. For instance, a study conducted by researchers at Stanford University found that participants who limited their use of social media and digital devices reported lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. By reducing the constant stream of information and notifications, individuals were able to focus more on meaningful interactions and activities that promoted well-being. Additionally, participants reported relying on social media to get information for their purchasing decision. In another case, a corporate professional struggling with burnout and insomnia implemented digital minimalism techniques, such as setting boundaries for phone usage and practicing mindfulness. As a result, he experienced improved sleep quality, reduced stress levels, and a newfound sense of calm and clarity. Evident, 분명한, case study, 사례 연구, adopt, 채택하다, digital minimalism, 디지털 미니멀리즘, improved, 향상된, mental health, 정신건강, outcome, 결과, conduct, 수행하다, researcher, 연구자, participant, 참가자,
limit, 제한하다, device, 기기, report, 보고하다, anxiety, 불안, depression, 우울, reduce, 줄이다, constant, 끊임없는, stream, 흐름, notification, 알림, individual, 개인, meaningful, 의미 있는, interaction, 상호작용, promote, 촉진하다, well-being, 행복, 안녕, additionally, 게다가, rely on, 어디에 의존하다, purchasing decision, 구매 결정, corporate, 기업에, professional, 전문직 종사자, struggle with, 어디로 고생하다, burnout, 번아웃, 탈진, insomnia, 불면증, implement, 실행하다, technique, 기법, boundary, 한계, 경계, mindfulness, 마음챙김, quality, 질, newfound, 새로 발견한, clarity, 명료함.
The big difference between working and long-term memory is that we are explicitly aware of the information in working memory, but we are not able to directly access the information in our long-term memory. We access long-term memory by bringing the information into working memory. For example, right now, you are not aware of all the actors you have ever seen. They are stored in your long-term memory outside your consciousness. However, if I asked you to list all the actors, you would use your working memory to retrieve them one by one and reel them off. Your working memory can access your long-term memory and bring those memories to awareness. But remember, it has a limit of 7 items or chunks. Each actor would be an item. Try and hold all the actors you know in your explicit awareness. You might try to visualize a large group of them, but you still would only be aware of a few actors at any one time. Long-term memory, 장기 기억, working memory, 작업 기억, explicitly, 명시적으로, 분명히, aware of, 을 알고 있는, directly, 직접적으로, access, 접근하다, bring A into B, A를 B로 가져오다, actor, 배우, store, 저장하다, consciousness, 의식, retrieve, 회수하다, 떠올리다, one by one, 하나씩, reel off, 줄줄 말하다, awareness, 의식, 인식, limit, 한계, item, 항목, chunk, 덩어리, visualize, 시각화하다, at any one time, 한 번에. 39.9. Approximately 15-20% of global greenhouse gas emissions are caused by degradation and deforestation. Trees play a huge role in the carbon cycle. They convert the CO2 in the air to oxygen through the process of photosynthesis, and consequently, they are viewed as a natural regulator of carbon dioxide. The existence of a larger amount of trees will no doubt lead to the reduced presence of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and the increased existence of oxygen. Unfortunately, deforestation is preventing this process from being fully accomplished. And with half of the Earth's forests gone, the amount of carbon dioxide is progressively rising. With more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, more of the sun's radiation is being reflected back to Earth instead of being released into space, and this is causing the planet's average temperature to rise. Accordingly, deforestation is a major issue when it comes to global warming. Approximately, DADAC, global, 전 세계적인, greenhouse gas emission, 온실가스 배출, degradation, 황폐화, deforestation, 삼림 벌채, carbon cycle, 탄소 순환, convert, 전환하다, CO2, 이산화탄소, oxygen, 산소, process, 과정, photosynthesis, 광합성, consequently, 결과적으로, view A as B, A를 B로 보다, natural regulator, 자연 조절 장치, carbon dioxide, 이산화탄소, existence, 존재, presence, 존재, atmosphere, 대기, unfortunately, 불행히도, prevent, 막다, fully, 완전히, accomplish, 성취하다, progressively, 점차적으로, radiation, 복사에너지, reflect, 반사하다, release, 방출하다, accordingly, 따라서, major issue, 주요 문제, global warming, 지구온난화. 해커슨의 지문자료 1001번. One of the most important things to do in life is expressing your emotions. Although it can be challenging to open up to others, you should remember that openness is not weakness. Rather, it can help you to build stronger relationships. If you tell your family and friends how you feel honestly, they are more likely to empathize with your situation. This will lead to a deeper sense of trust and closeness. Express. 표현하다. Emotion. 감정. Challenging. 어려운. Open up to. 뭐뭐에게 마음을 열다. Openness. 개방성. 솔직함. Weakness. 약점. Rather. 오히려. Relationship. 관계. Honestly. 솔직하게. Empathize with. 뭐뭐에 공감하다. Situation. 상황. Lead to. 뭐뭐로 이어지다. Deeper. 더 깊은. Sense. 감각, 느낌. Trust. 신뢰. Closeness. 친밀감. 1002C. Sea cucumbers may seem to be simple creatures, but they play a significant role in protecting the environment. These animals are like the ocean's vacuum cleaners. They keep the water clean for other sea creatures. How do they do this? They eat up dead plants and animals that sink to the bottom of the ocean. Some species of sea cucumbers can also purify the water by filtering out harmful bacteria. Sea cucumber. 해삼. Creature. 생물. Significant. 중요한. Role. 역할. Protect. 보호하다. Environment. 환경. Vacuum cleaner. 진공청소기. Sea creature. 바다 생물. Sink. 가라앉다. Bottom. 바닥. Species. 종. Purify. 정화하다. Filter out. 걸러내다. Harmful. 해로운. Bacteria. 박테리아. 세균.
1003번. Chronic health problems such as heart disease, diabetes, and cancer are on the rise worldwide. Many people are trying to eat healthily since they believe there is a clear link between food and these diseases. Some even avoid eating certain types of foods, thinking they may contribute to the development of those conditions. However, this is not the best way to achieve optimal health. Limiting your diet can have a negative impact on your physical and mental well-being. Instead, you should eat a balanced diet that includes a variety of foods from all food groups. This approach ensures that your body gets all the essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. It can also increase your energy levels, boost your immunity, and improve your mood. Chronic. 만성적인. Health problem. 건강 문제. Heart disease. 심장병. Diabetes. 당뇨병. Cancer. 암. On the rise. 증가하는. Worldwide. 전 세계적으로. Healthily. 건강하게. Link. 관련성. Certain. 특정한. Contribute to. 무엇에 기여하다. Development. 발생, 발달. Condition. 질병, 상태. Optimal. 최적의. Limit. 제한하다. Negative impact. 부정적인 영향. pH. Physical. 신체적인. Mental. 정신적인. Well-being. 행복, 건강. Balanced diet. 균형 잡힌 식단. Variety. 다양성. Food group. 식품군. Approach. 접근법. Ensure. 보장하다. Essential. 필수적인. Vitamin. 비타민. Mineral. 미네랄. Nutrient. 영양소. Energy level. 에너지 수준. Boost. 높이다. Immunity. 면역력. Mood. 기분.
1004. No one would deny that the internet allows us to stay informed. From breaking news to social media updates, it provides us with a wealth of information. Unfortunately, though, the spread of fake news nowadays is leaving many of us confused. With so much false information online, it is getting more and more difficult to separate fact from fiction. Sensational headlines, altered images, and made-up stories are all too common, and they can have serious consequences. In order to prevent the spread of fake news, we must take steps. The first step is to always question information on the web. If we come across something suspicious, we should check the source. It is also important to be aware of our own prejudices, as they can affect our judgment. By being more critical, we can better protect ourselves from misinformation. Deny, 부인하다. Internet, 인터넷. Stay informed, 계속 정보를 얻다. Breaking news, 긴급 뉴스. Social media, social media. Update, 최신 소식. Provide A with B, A에게 B를 제공하다. Wealth, 풍부함. Spread, 확산. Fake news, 가짜 뉴스. Nowadays, 요즘. False, 거짓에. Separate A from B, A와 B를 구별하다. Fact, 사실. Fiction, 허구. Sensational, 선정적인. Headline, 표제, 제목. Altered, 조작된. Made up, 지어낸. Consequence, 결과. Prevent, 막다. Come across, 우연히 접하다. Suspicious, 의심스러운. Source, 출처. Be aware of, 뭐뭐를 알고 있다. Prejudice, 편견. Judgment, 판단. Critical, 비판적인. Protect, 보호하다. Misinformation, 잘못된 정보.
Chomu is a soup that is connected to the history of Haiti. It is traditionally eaten on January 1st to celebrate the nation's independence from France. It is known that only the French landowners could enjoy the soup during the colonial period. When Haitians finally gained their freedom in 1804, they adopted this dish and made it their own. In 2021, it was added to the UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage items. Be connected to, 뭐뭐와 관련되다. Traditionally, 전통적으로. Celebrate, 기념하다. Independence, 독립. Landowner, 지주. Colonial period, 식민지 시대. Gain freedom, 자유를 얻다. Adopt, 받아들이다. Dish, 요리. UNESCO, UNESCO. Intangible cultural heritage, 무형문화유산. Item, 항목.
1006번. A science lab is being built at the school. It is expected to be complete before the next semester begins. In the new lab, students will be taught how to carry out experiments in various fields of science. They will be able to freely use the state-of-the-art equipment and facilities. The school is hopeful that the lab will enhance the quality of education by creating a more dynamic learning environment. Science lab, 과학 실험실. Be built, 지어지다. Be expected to, 할 것으로 예상되다. Complete, 완성된. Semester, 학기. Carry out, 수행하다. Experiment, 실험. Various, 다양한. Field, 분야. Freely, 자유롭게. State of the art, 최첨단의. Equipment, 장비. Facility, 시설. Hopeful, 희망적인. Enhance, 향상하다. Quality, 질. Education, 교육. Dynamic, 역동적인. Learning environment, 학습 환경.
1007번. Eco-friendly travel is now considered the most responsible way to explore the world. According to a recent survey, more than 80% of global travelers say it is vital. This is a significant increase from a few years ago, when the number was just about 50%. It is believed that the rise is mostly due to people's growing awareness of environmental issues. They are becoming more conscious of their carbon footprint and trying to reduce it. To respond to this trend, travel businesses are introducing eco-friendly practices. For example, many hotels are applying energy-efficient technologies, sourcing local produce, and cutting back on single-use plastics. Furthermore, some tour operators are offering tours that minimize negative impacts on the environment. They are encouraging travelers to use green transportation and stay in eco-lodges. If this continues, perhaps natural wonders can be preserved for future generations. Eco-friendly, 친환경적인. Travel, 여행. Considered, 여겨지는. Responsible, 책임감 있는. Explore, 탐험하다, 여행하다. According to, 뭐뭐에 따르면. Recent, 최근에. Survey, 조사. Global, 전 세계에. Vital, 매우 중요한. Significant, 상당한. Increase, 증가. Awareness, 인지. Environmental issue, 환경 문제. Conscious of, 뭐뭐를 의식하는. Carbon footprint, 탄소 발자국. Reduce, 줄이다. Respond to, 뭐뭐에 대응하다. Trend, 추세. Business, 업체, 사업체. Introduce, 도입하다. Practice, 관행, 실천. Energy efficient, 에너지 효율적인. Technology, 기술. Source, 조달하다. Local produce, 지역 농산물. Cut back on, 뭐뭐를 줄이다. Single-use plastic, 일회용 플라스틱. Tour operator, 여행 상품 운용자. Offer, 제공하다. Minimize, 최소화하다. Negative impact, 부정적인 영향. Encourage, 장려하다. Green transportation, 친환경 교통. Eco-launch, 친환경 숙소. Preserve, 보존하다. Future generation, 미래 세대.
1008번. Think about the last time you went to a restaurant. Did you order something new? Chances are you went for something you have tried before. This behavior can be explained by a study conducted by psychologist Robert Zajonc in 1968. In the study, the participants were given a list of words. The words were in a foreign language, so the participants did not know what they meant. They picked some of the words and read them out loud several times, while ignoring the rest. Afterwards, they were asked to rate the words on the list, indicating whether they liked them or not. The participants gave the highest ratings to the words they had read the most. Zajonc concluded that repeating the words increased the participants' fondness for them. Interestingly enough, this phenomenon is not limited to words. It has been observed in many areas of life, including food, music, and fashion. People have an inclination toward things they have been exposed to multiple times before. Summary: we tend to develop a preference for things that we are more familiar with. Chances are, 아마도 뭐뭐일 것이다. Behavior, 행동. Explain, 설명하다. Conduct, 수행하다. Psychologist, 심리학자. Participant, 참가자. Foreign language, 외국어. Mean, 의미하다. Pick, 고르다. Out loud, 큰 소리로. Ignore, 무시하다. Afterwards, 그 후에. Rate, 평가하다. Indicate, 나타내다. Rating, 평가, 점수. Conclude, 결론짓다. Repeat, 반복하다. Increase, enhance, 증가시키다. Fondness, 애정, 호감. Phenomenon, 현상. Be limited to, 무엄에 한정되다. Observe, 관찰하다. Area, 영역. Inclination, 성향. Be exposed to, 무엄에 노출되다. Multiple, 여러 번에. Summary, 요약. Preference, 선호. Familiar, 익숙한.
1009번. Abigail used to be very disorganized. She knew she needed to change, but she did not make any effort to do so. One day, she received a call from the school library saying she had not returned some books on time. According to the librarian, she should have returned them the previous week. She had to go to the library right away and pay an overdue fine. After this incident, Abigail began using a planner to keep track of important dates. Disorganized, 정리가 안 된. Make an effort, 노력하다. Receive, 받다. According to, 뭐뭐에 따르면. Librarian, 사서. Previous, 이전에. Right away, 즉시. Overdue fine, 연체료. Incident, 사건. Planner, 일정표. Keep track of, 뭐뭐를 계속 파악하다. Important date, 중요한 날짜. Some people argue that teachers are able to predict students' success or failure based on their academic performance. However, it would be a mistake to assume that teachers' predictions are always correct. For instance, a student might struggle with a particular subject now, but later discover a passion for it. Their interests and abilities can develop over time. Also, there are many factors that influence their success, such as creativity and emotional intelligence. Predict, 예측하다. Success, 성공. Failure, 실패. Based on, 뭐뭐에 근거하여. Academic performance, 학업 성취. Mistake, 실수. Assume, 가정하다. Prediction, 예측. Correct, 맞는. For instance, 예를 들어. Struggle with, 뭐뭐로 어려움을 겪다. Particular, 특정한. Subject, 과목. Discover, 발견하다. Passion, 열정. Ability, 능력. Develop, 발달하다. Factor, 요인. Influence, 영향을 미치다. Creativity, 창의성. Emotional intelligence, 정서지능. Riding the wave. When we encounter challenges, we often find ourselves unsure of what to do. It is natural to feel discomfort in the face of something new and difficult. Our initial instinct might be to avoid it altogether. But if we always run away from difficulty, we limit our potential for development. We may miss out on valuable experiences that could have helped us to grow. By choosing to confront the challenge, however, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We can discover our hidden strengths or gain a different perspective on the world around us. At the very least, we will learn more about ourselves and our capabilities. So the next time you face a challenge, do not automatically resist it. Instead, take a deep breath, face it head on, and ride the wave to see where the journey takes you. Encounter, 마주치다. Challenge, 어려움. Unsure, 확신이 없는. Discomfort, 불편. In the face of, 에 직면하여. Initial, 처음에. Instinct, 본능. Avoid, 피하다. Altogether, 완전히. Run away from, 로부터 도망치다. Difficulty, 어려움. Limit, 제한하다. Potential, 잠재력. Development, 발전. Miss out on, 을 놓치다. Valuable, 가치 있는. Confront, 맞서다. Possibility, 가능성. Hidden, 숨겨진. Strength, 강점. Gain, 얻다. Perspective, 관점. At the very least, 적어도. Capability, 능력. Automatically, 자동적으로. Resist, 저항하다. Head on, 정면으로. Journey, 여정. It may be difficult to maintain a work-life balance, but here are some tips. One strategy to do this is establishing clear work hours. You should set a schedule and avoid work-related tasks outside of those hours. Paying attention to self-care, such as exercising, doing hobbies, and spending time with loved ones, will also help. By following these strategies, you can achieve a more satisfying work life. Maintain, 유지하다. Work-life balance, 일과 삶의 균형. Strategy, 전략. Establish, 세우다. Schedule, 일정. Avoid, 피하다. Work-related, 업무와 관련된. Task, 일, 과제. Pay attention to, 에 주의를 기울이다. Self-care, 자기관리. Hobby, 취미. Loved ones, 사랑하는 사람들. Follow, 따르다.
achieve, 성취하다, satisfying, 만족스러운. 1013번. The bagless vacuum cleaner is an invention created by James Dyson in the 1980s. Unlike traditional vacuum cleaners, it does not rely on a disposable bag. It uses a special technology to spin the air and separate the dust from it. The separated dust is collected in a bin, which can simply be emptied. This innovative invention has proven to be an efficient and eco-friendly choice for households around the world. Bagless, 먼지 봉투가 없는. Vacuum cleaner, 진공청소기. Invention, 발명품. Traditional, 전통적인. Rely on, 에 의존하다. Disposable, 일회용의. Technology, 기술. Spin, 회전시키다. Separate, 분리하다. Dust, 먼지. Collect, 모으다. Bin, 통. Empty, 비우다. Innovative, 혁신적인. Prove to be, 인 것으로 드러나다. Efficient, 효율적인. Eco-friendly, 친환경적인. Household, 가정.
Water on Earth moves continuously through the atmosphere, oceans, land, and living organisms. When the sun heats Earth's surface, water evaporates from bodies of water in the soil. This evaporating water rises and cools as it enters the atmosphere, forming clouds. Within the clouds, water droplets stick to one another and become larger. Once the droplets contained in the clouds get heavy enough, they fall back to the surface in the form of rain or snow. This precipitation is then absorbed by the soil, nourishing plants and restoring the supply of groundwater. Or it returns to bodies of water, and the cycle begins again. Without the water cycle, life on Earth would be impossible, as maintaining the planet's balance of water is essential for the continued existence of all species. Continuously, 계속해서. Atmosphere, 대기. Ocean, 바다. Organism, 생물. Heat, 태우다. Surface, 표면. Evaporate, 증발하다. Body of water, 수역. Soil, 토양. Rise, 올라가다. Cool, 식다. Form, 형성하다. Droplet, 작은 물방울. Stick to, 어디에 달라붙다. Contained, 포함된. In the form of, 뭐뭐의 형태로. Precipitation, 강수. Absorb, 흡수하다. Nourish, nurture, 영양분을 공급하다. Restore, 회복시키다. Supply, 공급. Groundwater, 지하수. Cycle, 순환. Maintain, 유지하다. Balance, 균형. Essential, 필수적인. Continued existence, 지속적인 존재. Species, 종. 1015번. Over the years, businesses have adapted themselves to stay competitive in a rapidly changing market. One of the most noticeable shifts is their growing focus on customer experience. This is mainly because customers now have more power than before, thanks to social media. They share their experiences with a wide audience online, and those reviews can directly affect a business's reputation. Furthermore, in the current market, there are many options to choose from. This means consumers can always switch brands if they are not satisfied. Naturally, providing good customer service has become the top priority for businesses seeking to keep their customers. It is not surprising that many companies are investing heavily in customer support systems to meet the rising expectations of today's customers. Over the years, 수년 동안. Business, 기업. Adapt, 적응하다. Competitive, 경쟁력 있는. Rapidly, 빠르게. Market, 시장. Noticeable, 눈에 띄는. Shift, 변화. focus, 초점. customer experience, 고객 경험. mainly, 주로. thanks to, 모모 덕분에. wide audience, 광범위한 청중. review, 후기. directly, 직접적으로. affect, 영향을 미치다. reputation, 평판. furthermore, 게다가. current, 현재의. option, 선택지. consumer, 소비자. switch brands, 브랜드를 바꾸다. satisfied, 만족한. naturally, 자연스럽게. customer service, 고객 서비스. priority, 우선사항. seek to, 뭐뭐 하려고 하다. invest, 투자하다. heavily, 많이. customer support system, 고객 지원 시스템. meet, 충족하다. rising expectation, 높아지는 기대.
1016번. Dear Mr. Myers, I hope you are doing well. As you already know, I am graduating this year. I have been accepted to Columbia University, where I will study literature. I am trying to apply for a scholarship, and part of the application requires a letter of recommendation. Since I have been your student for the last 2 years, I feel that you can provide an honest assessment of my academic performance and capabilities. I would appreciate your support, as receiving this scholarship would be a great help to me. If you are able to write a letter of recommendation for me, please let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Amy Barron. Graduate, 졸업하다. Be accepted to, 뭐뭐에 합격하다. Literature, 문학. Apply for, 뭐뭐에 지원하다. Scholarship, 장학금. Application, 신청서. Require, 요구하다. Letter of recommendation, 추천서. Provide, 제공하다. Honest assessment, 정직한 평가. Academic performance, 학업 성취. Capability, 능력. Appreciate, 감사히 여기다. Support, 지원. Look forward to, 뭐뭐를 기대하다. Sincerely, 진심으로.
1018번. The manager handed Teresa a thick stack of papers. Please go through them and fill in any missing. Teresa took the papers, her hands trembling slightly, and returned to her desk. She was not sure whether she was capable of the task. However, she pulled herself together and focused on her assignment. She carefully reviewed each page, paying close attention to the information. She also cross-checked the documents with the company's database. It wasn't long until she was on the last page and returning the stack to the manager. At the end of the workday, as she was gathering her things, the manager approached her. Great job today. See you. Teresa left the building feeling as if she were walking on air. Manager, 관리자. Hand, 건네주다. Stack, 더미. Go through, 살펴보다. Fill in, 채워넣다. Missing, 빠진. Tremble, 떨리다. Slightly, 약간. Capable of, 뭐뭐 할 수 있는. Task, 과제. Pull oneself together, 마음을 다잡다. Assignment, 임무. Review, 검토하다. Pay attention to, 에 주의를 기울이다. Cross-check, 대조 확인하다. Document, 문서. Database, 데이터베이스. Approach, 다가가다. As if, 마치 뭐뭐처럼. Walk on air, 매우 기뻐하다.
It was already dark as Sarah made her way home after a long day at school. Walking at her usual quick pace, she took a shortcut through the alley. Almost there, she thought to herself. Suddenly, she heard faint meows coming from a nearby drainage pipe. She didn't want to ignore the cries, so she walked in the direction of the pipe. Her heart sank when she looked inside and saw the face of a frightened kitten.
She put her hand in to pull it out, but the kitten was stuck. Sarah checked the bolts that held the pipe in place. Knowing the kitten would die if she didn't get it out, she tried desperately to loosen them with just her fingers. Make one's way home. 집으로 향하다. Pace. 걸음, 속도. Shortcut. 지름길. Alley. 골목. Faint. 희미한. Meow. 야옹 소리. Nearby. 근처에. Drainage pipe. 배수관. Ignore. 무시하다. Cry. 울음소리. In the direction of. 의 방향으로. Heart sank. 가슴이 철렁했다. Frightened. 겁먹은. Kitten. 새끼 고양이. Stuck. 끼인. Bolt. 볼트. Hold A in place. A를 제자리에 고정하다. Desperately. 필사적으로. Loosen. 느슨하게 하다. Finger. 손가락.
Dear residents, in order to keep our building clean, we would like to remind you about our recycling and waste management guidelines. First, you must separate anything you discard into recyclable items, organic waste, and regular trash. Recyclable items include plastic, glass, metal, and paper, and these should be placed in the bin with the blue lid. Organic waste includes food scraps and materials from plants, and these should be placed in the bin with the green lid. All other trash should be bagged and placed in the bin with the black lid. If you have any questions or need assistance, you can contact us at 555-3363. Thank you for your cooperation. Building Management Team. Resident. 거주자. In order to. 뭐뭐 하기 위해. Remind. 상기시키다. Recycling. 재활용. Waste Management. 폐기물 관리. Guideline. 지침. Separate. 분리하다. Discard. 버리다. Recyclable item. 재활용품. Organic waste. 음식물 쓰레기. 유기성 폐기물. Regular trash. 일반 쓰레기. Include. 포함하다. Plastic. 플라스틱. Metal. 금속. Bin. 쓰레기통. Food scrap. 음식물 찌꺼기. Material. 물질. Assistance. 도움. Contact. 연락하다. Cooperation. 협조. Management. 관리팀.